FayWhat Show, we want to introduce you to interesting people who are important to our LGBTQ plus community. This morning, I present to you an interview with one such influential queer trailblazer. Here's Harold Marrero. Take a look. I'm excited about my next guest on the FayWhat Show. I'm excited to get this pastor in bed. Said no lesbian ever, right? Can you even think about that? This is Harold Marrero, Chief Operating Officer of Safe Schools South Florida and pastor at No Reservations, a collective awakening church. Harold is committed to fostering authenticity and inclusivity through his leadership and creative endeavors, and he's with us at the FayWhat Show. Thank you for being with us, Harold.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm good. How are you?
Good. How long have I been trying to get you in bed?
Oh, it's been a long time. So
right?
It's been a while, yeah.
Because I had the pleasure of meeting, I don't even remember when the hell I met you, but then we reconnected again on Queer News Tonight, and you've always had so much great things to say, you know?
Oh, thank you.
So we love having you on Queer News Tonight, and just, you know, just your whole authenticity, just who you are, you like wear it on your sleeve, and I so appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we met through Unity Coalition back in the day.
Oh my God, Herb. Hi, Herb. Oh, I love Herb. You know, Herb has a way of making people meet, right? Yeah. Like he has a way of meeting, like it's not 6 degrees of separation, it's how many degrees to Herb?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's something like that.
Herb knows everybody in the queer community in South Florida, so
he's awesome.
He is awesome.
So, Safe Schools South Florida, such an important organization. I love all the people over there, and we're going to talk a little bit about them in a bit. But you are so interesting to me and so important to our community. You know, church and LGBTQ plus have had such a strained relationship. You
Yes.
know, you're a gay Cuban American pastor.
Yep.
You know, a theology whiz. You know, it wasn't easy for you to come out, was it?
No, it was very hard, and the whole process of what has kept me in the church is because even though I grew up evangelical, and then I went Pentecostal, and I came out. Yeah, I came out while I was in a Pentecostal church.
Okay.
And I came out to my parents when I was 21. It's funny because people joke about this, but literally my dad was listening behind a door. We were in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And now I know, like, shame on me for coming out, in the mountains of Tennessee. But my mom kept asking questions. She's like, just kept asking questions and kept asking questions, and I'm like,
because the mom always knows. Harold, you know.
And I had a girlfriend, but it wasn't really my girlfriend. It was my boyfriend at the time. And she was like, just tell me the truth. I'm like, do you really want to know? She's like, yes. I said, well, I'm gay. And
this was while on vacation in Gatlinburg
on December 23rd.
Coño, you really have it.
I know.
Antes de Nochebuena, you come and tell your mom this.
Yeah.
And so your dad, you're saying, is in the other room listening.
No, my dad is in the door listening.
Con un vaso, with a cup, just listening.
Yeah, exactly. And when I say that, my mom was like, no, that's a lie. And then my dad swings the door open.
Very dramatic.
And literally throws a Bible at me. I am not kidding. Like, I wish I was kidding, but he literally throws a Bible at me.
Okay, like a leather one, soft, or like a hard one?
A leather one. It was a soft leather one. It's his Bible. And he throws it at me. And he's like, that is the devil's, you've been confused by the devil. And at this point in my life, I was like, I was ready for it. I was prepared. But no matter how much preparation you take, like you do,
there isn't
when
enough.
It's happening, you're like, what is happening right now?
Oh my God! Wow.
So,
what was was church? You said that your parents went to Pentecostal church, right?
Yeah.
Were they deeply rooted in the church?
Yeah. So my dad had gone through a cancer scare, and that's what led us into the Pentecostal church because he was looking for faith healings and whatever. I kind of followed along because which is what I did back then. Mm-hmm. And I worked at the church. So the church that I was at, like me and my ex-husband were working there. We were running the media. We were actually youth leaders. We were part of the board. So your
boyfriend was also a part of this same church. So you're both in the closet. You met in the church.
And get this, we literally worked in a closet because they gave us a closet to put our computers and stuff. So we were literally working in the closet of the church.
So tell me how did you come out to each other? Like, was there a look? Was there something where you just because obviously you're coming out to each other, but you can't tell everybody else that's around you in this church.
Right. So when you mean me and my ex?
Yes.
So we started going to church together. So we were, I really thought that everybody knew. I mean, we showed up in the same car for a year. For a year, we showed up in the same car. We stayed with the
Their
same car.
outfits matched, but nobody knew.
We lived in the same house. I was like, okay.
Okay.
So when I came out to my parents outed me to the pastors. And they did this whole fake thing that we were gonna do, like this conference, this youth conference, and I had to go if I wanted to continue to work with the youth. And I knew what it was. It was like a pray away the gay thing.
Yeah.
And they brought down this guy from Atlanta who prayed away the gay, and they targeted all of the LGBTQ plus or suspected LGBTQ plus people in the church
because we're everywhere.
Yeah. And so we were targeted, and it just turned into this like weird thing. I mean, it's just a whole story behind it. But
wow.
But that church kicked me out. But I was already ready for it. Like when I came out to my parents, I was like, okay, this is all going to boil over into what I'm doing with the church. So we were already me and my ex, we were looking for another church, and we actually got a phone call from the pastor of Coral Gables Congregational United Church of Christ. One of the pastors there wanted us to film, because we had a film company. He wanted us to film one of his sermons for his doctorate at the seminary that I actually started going to later on. And he got us in the middle of Georgia, where I should have no reception. I get a phone call from the church that we were already looking at. Oh. And I was like, yes, I'll do it. I don't care how much you're going to pay me. I'll do it. I'll come film your sermon. And that was really what introduced me to the United Church of Christ, a more mainline, more progressive churches.
And then you ended up going to that seminary.
Yeah, I ended up going to the seminary that he was at.
But it's like so crazy, Harold, like how, like for some people, for them to go through that would make them want to go as far away from the church as possible, right? But for you, it pushed you closer to it. On your Facebook page, right, I read a quote that you said, coming out to my family and church was the first profound loss of my life. Mm-hmm. That's so fucking deep. Sorry to curse, but that's like so deep.
The loss that I felt was a loss of family, a loss of community, a loss of an identity that I had developed while I was there. And the funny thing is that, people ask me, when they hear my story, they're like, why are you even still in the church? Like, why have you gone all the way to getting a doctorate in this? And I always say that even though the people around me were saying different things about queer people, I felt deep in my heart that, the God that is reflected in Christ cannot possibly hate me. And does not hate me, and I feel loved by this force in the universe that I don't want to quantify by calling it anything. It's like I just feel loved by something so much greater than myself, something so much greater than all of us. That to me, I was able to put words through it through Christianity, and now as I'm older, like I see that there are so many ways of tapping into that force, tapping into that love, tapping into that uniqueness, what makes us so awesome. Especially when we're operating authentically, that's when we are reflecting this pure divinity. So that's
when we shine the brightest, right? When we get to be our true authentic self. And unfortunately, so many of us don't really get to, or are fearful about it. I mean, you have like the textbook hard coming out, right? Your parents are involved in a church that hate us, that thinks that we're an abomination, right? Throwing a Bible at you and all that. Like, you know that I'm really involved with Unity on the Bay, and I'm constantly screaming to whoever will hear me that you can be spiritual and you can be queer, right? That there are churches that will welcome us with open arms, and you are always speaking on the intersection with theology, technology, and everyday parts of life. Speak a little bit about that. Like, we've been so marginalized, us queer folks, that we think that there isn't a place for us when it comes to religion.
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate because for me, and speaking from a Christian perspective, the Christian church is supposed to be a place of refuge, a place of community, a place where diversity is not only expected but celebrated. And the early church movement during the first century, second century, and third century, because they were oppressed and they weren't the majority, they did have a much more communal attitude towards one another and towards the communities that they served. And back then, when you stepped into a church, you would have seen every single aspect of Roman society sitting at a table, sharing a meal together, and everyone was equal. And I thought, that is, we take that for granted today because of how we have the West has developed in this Christian Judeo framework, but back then that was wild.
Yeah.
Even today, when you go in, like Martin Luther King Jr. said that, I think it was MLK that said that church, the Sunday morning hour is still the most segregated moment in the United States. Even today, there aren't.
Oh my God, that's so true, huh?
Yeah, even today there aren't that much diversity in churches. Churches like yours do. Churches like mine. We seek out the diversity, but most don't. They're formed with people that look like them, that act like them, that have their same values. And I'm so really inspired by the first century movement and by the early church movement that I'm like, this is what we should be like. This is what we need to look like.
Yeah.
Because when we look like that, when we bring all these people in, all this diversity in, we start to really see the full face of whatever God is to you. Because we're all little reflections of the divine, and as I get to know you, as I get to know people that are different from me, I get to see another piece of God. And the more diverse that we are, the more together that we are, the more we learn from each other, the more that we can truly see what the human condition is all about. Which is love.
And that's it, right? When I initially thought of God, I would think of love, right? And when I think of love, I think of inclusivity. I don't think of a place that would disclude you, right? And that's why religion is so confusing. I can only speak for me. And again, how committed I am to unity on the Bay. With that being said, a big Latin, big juicy but, the Bible scares me.
Yeah.
Okay, the Bible scares me. I have great people around me, like Reverend Juan Del Hierro, like yourself, like Durrell over here at Sunshine Cathedral. And, it gives me hope and it gives me joy when theology whizzes like you remind us that the Bible was translated 1 million times, that they purposely took us out of the Bible,
right.
Can you tell our viewers a little bit about that?
Sure. So there are the famous 7 clobber verses that are used against the LGBT community, the LGBTQ plus community.
Leviticus.
Leviticus.
Your favorite one.
Right. There's Leviticus, there's one in Romans, there's one in Corinthians, and there's one in Timothy. And then people talk about the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. I just cannot, I don't even, touch on that, because the story of Sodom and Gomorrah has nothing to do with queer people. It's all about being inhospitable and just awful, right?
Yeah.
So that's all this about. So I don't even touch that sometimes when people talk about it. But then the other ones, it's like those verses are A, taken out of context. B, they're written in a different time by people of a different time. And the ones in the New Testament, the ones that are associated with Paul, none of them are talking about modern queer relationships. They're talking about even the 2 words that are used in Corinthians, and Timothy is a copy of Corinthians. So people have to understand that Timothy is just saying what Corinthians says. It's not a separate letter.
Okay.
The 2 Greek words that are used there are words that no longer make sense to us in the present moment. We don't know what those original words meant. And if you look at older translations from the Latin to the Greek and then for the Latin, the 2 words were translated into people, humans that abuse themselves with others, like rape, or people that or temple prostitutes. Nothing there is about queer people. None of it. And in Romans, Romans is written in a way that Paul is saying, you keep saying that the people around you are doing this, and that. But then right after he says that, he's like, but you're no one to judge. Don't judge people. It's literally right there. And I love how Christians, particularly a certain brand of Christianity, takes that verse, pulls that only the statement that they want and ignore what's before and ignore what's after. And that's what happens all the time.
Yeah.
People, cherry pick the Bible. They use what they want to use to defend their hatred.
What's good for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they ignore the rest. And to me, the Bible is so much more than these clobber verses. I mean, the Bible has immense human wisdom. When you read books like Ecclesiastes, that is like deep theological wisdom that talks about how, guys, like life sucks. life is chaotic. There is chaos. It doesn't matter if you're good or evil. I mean, it rains on both, right? But it says, but the best thing that you can do is eat, drink, and be merry, and do what you can with this life. You are the one that makes choices in how you react to things, and as long as you're living a good life and you are, the way in which you love others showcases what you think about God. So if you're loving other people, if you're not hurting other people, if you're just being good to your neighbor, then that is a reflection of whatever God you serve. And that's in there. And also in Ecclesiastes, it says it's not good for humans to be alone. Like we have to be together. We have to be, united, or not even that, but like have people around us that would care about us, that uplift us. Yeah. And there's so much wisdom in there, and people just people ignore it. And what sucks is that it gets in the way of even people in the queer community. Because the Bible has been used so much to hurt us, we tend to not even want to touch it.
Yeah.
When there's so much that we can
And that's what I mean, Harold. That coño, you got hit with a Bible. You know what I mean? I don't know if a Bible should trigger your ass now, and it doesn't, but I can't, sometimes I would love, I've heard that there's recipes and there's wonderful things in the Bible, but it scares the living shit out of me. You understand? And that sucks. And so I need it given to me in small doses and in a way that I can clearly understand, right? And Reverend Juan does that over at Unity and the Bay. Darrell does that. You do that at your church. We need it like that because we're so marginalized by this damn black book.
Right.
Yeah. Tell me about your church now, the church that you presently reside at.
Yeah, so my church is called No Reservations.
I love that name.
Thank you. Yeah, this name it was born, so when I first started at Coral Gables Congregational Church, United Church of Christ, there were only 4 people that were in my age range, and the rest were just they were older, wiser people. I want to say wise because I don't want to say old.
Elders.
They were wise elders. And but I'm like this, the theology that is being spoken about in this church, the community that they're trying to build, it resonates so much with millennials, with people from my age demographic, that I wanted to grow the group. So that's what I said. That's what I did. I put myself out there to try to grow something. And the group went through 3 variations before we had a good number of core people. And then one day we were sitting outside of Pasión del Cielo in Coral Gables, next to Graciano's Marketplace. And we were talking, and we're we should have a name for the group, and we should form some structure. So we came up with the name No Reservations. And we actually voted. It was between No Reservations and Crossroads, but Crossroads sounded too much like the Britney Spears movie. So we were no, we can't compete with Santa Britney.
And only Santa Britney, right? And only gay boys are no, you can't go past Crossroads.
We can't go there. No,
you can't.
So we voted on No Reservations, and the name stuck. And the group went from being only a group from that church to be a multi-church group. And then when we I started working for Miami Beach Community Church. The church is on Lincoln Road. And then there we had a nighttime contemporary worship service that we ran. And the group just kept growing and growing and growing. And then during the pandemic, obviously the pandemic brought everything to a halt. But that's when I really focused on school and to finish. I finished my master's at Chicago Theological Seminary at the University of Chicago. And then I got accepted into Duke Divinity School for my doctorate. Yeah, it's Duke represents. And
Duke school loans, Duke.
and I focused on that, and I wrote a lot about the group. I did a lot of introspection because I was part of the program that I was in. And what came out of that was just a relaunch of the ministry. And I'm doing the ministry now with my husband, Dr. Daniel Sheridan, who's a psychologist. And his funny thing is he wanted to go to seminary when he first got out of school. He was Catholic. He wanted to be a priest, but then he realized that he can't be a priest and be himself. So he went down the psychology road. So I
love that. So you're 2 nerds together. I love
that.
So
he calls it almost like a full circle moment that he's now running a church with me. And on our church is, we don't have a set space. Our house, I guess, is the church house. And it's really based on the first century church model, where we go out into the community, we do events in the community, and our worship services are not traditional worship service, but what we do is brunch and bingo. So on Sunday mornings, we go to the local brew house, MIA brew house, and there we do bingo.
I love that.
And in between each of the bingo games, we do like a little uplifting message, and we ask people to come up when whoever wins, and we ask them questions. Each week we have a like a question that we focus on, and people talk about their lives, their experiences, and then we have like a little message in between them, and then that's it. So people are going to church
but at a bar.
At a bar. Yeah.
And you don't get any backlash from that? I'm just thinking, Harold, because I know you live in Westchester. My mother-in-law lives in Westchester. Whenever I go visit, I got to go by Tamiami Park with all the Trumpsters, and they're out there with their banners and everything. You're Cuban. Like, none of that. You don't get no backlash there at all?
No, in fact, the first event that we did with them was something called Pa Todos, which is for everybody in Spanish.
Yeah.
And that's like the No Reservations. That's like our main event, the main event that we bring the whole community together. And we did a drag show at the bar in Doral with the Imperial Sun Court drag queens.
I love the Imperial Sun Court.
Yeah.
Eric, hi everybody.
And they came and it was amazing. In fact, the bar said that was the sales from that day were the highest grossing sales that they had that year.
Oh wow. Imagine that.
So no, I don't get a backlash, and I do feel that there are more people that even in the part of Miami that just want normalcy.
Yeah.
That want community.
Yeah.
That want to connect with people who are different from them, and that's what we're seeing at Brunch and Bingo. And they know we're gay. I mean, we have our table with there's a table with with a very diverse group of people, and there's a table that have like a family and their kids, and then the Imperial Sun Court has come before, so all of the Imperial Sun Court queens are sitting under the table, and it's what I would imagine what heaven looks like.
Oh my God, I love that.
Everyone just together.
Yeah, like that would be like my Last Supper.
Yeah,
it would be like a bunch of drag queens and God and
everybody.
family
Yeah, everyone just together.
I love that. Okay, speaking about God's work, okay, Safe Schools South Florida. Vamos a hablar de ello, okay? So Safe Schools South Florida, at the forefront of the fight against LGBTQ plus, youth, all these crazy laws and bans that are trying to be passed. You've had quite a few couple of years. Don't Say Gay was scary as shit. There was so much news about it then it dwindled. And then, where is Florida and our children now in all of these bans and everything going on today?
Honestly, we're still in a state of confusion. You have counties like Broward public school systems, which are still leading us in the forefront of like being somewhat normal. And then you have counties like Miami-Dade that are so afraid to speak out and to be true to themselves that they continue to pass laws or not support educators in ways that they need to be supported. And the laws are very confusing, and they're made like that on purpose. So teachers still don't know what they can say or they cannot say. Even with there was a settlement the settlement agreement that happened between Equality Florida and the state, where it was decided on, okay, you can say gay and you can do this and you can do that, but that information stays on the level of like, okay, this is what it came out of, but how does that apply to the classroom? How does it then apply to me? And each county has to do that work. And I'm very, very fortunate to know that Broward County school system is doing a great job, and Miami-Dade County is doing too. They're doing a good job, but they're bound by the system that they're in.
They're bound by the DeSantis.
Yeah. And the heads of the Miami-Dade County school system. And I'm not going to use any names, but they are great people that are working with us, that are doing the best they can with what they have. And then there are people that are not. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle, and the state of our schools now in Florida is a very scary place, because even like part of these new laws are coming out is that you can't talk about safe sex anymore, or safer sex.
Yeah.
Only abstinence.
Only abstinence. You can't even talk about condoms or anything like that.
Only abstinence. And that's
so how do you I remember taking sex ed, right? And I remember it being the first time that I was exposed to a lot of that stuff, because my parents were very religious, right? If I would have been given the wrong information at that time, so many things could have gone wrong with that, Harold. So you're going to do sex ed, but we're not going to talk about sex ed. Right. We're not going to educate you, I mean, and the rhetoric that these people hear, because these Trumpers believe it. You know, my mother-in-law is a Trumper, right? And she really believes in her heart of hearts that kids are going to school and getting, gender reassignment surgeries.
Right.
I mean, de donde carajo? You know what I mean? And my wife has said to her, like, I went to school in Westchester. They were grooming me to be straight. If anything,
Right.
why do you believe this now? Like, why is it that these horrific stories, they're preposterous is what they are. Why do people believe them, Harold?
I think people are scared. The society itself is not, many of the institutions that we used to assign a lot of trust in, many of the places that we used to say, okay, they're not going to lie to me. People feel that they're being lied to. People feel that they're not getting the true information.
Like media, social media, newspapers.
Newspapers, even the institution itself. The church is failing because it's not inspiring people into action. Our academia is failing because of everything that has happened recently in the country. And that's a problem, because when you lose faith in all of the main pillars of a society, you have nothing left. And false information and crazy information, really picks up steam.
And that's not even the craziest thing she's told me, Harold. She told me that she thought that drag queens were going into elementary schools and injecting kids with shit to make them gay.
Yeah.
But you nod like you've heard this. Isn't that crazy? But then Trump can say they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, and it's like, and they still are okay with that.
Right. And it's funny because I called my mom the next day and I was like, oh, did you see what he said? And she's like, oh, she always says, no, he didn't say that. I'm like, no, but he did say that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, it's kind of like distressing to think that in Cuba, when during very hard times, specifically in the 90s, during Periodo Especial, the special period, people were eating cats. People were eating dogs.
Wow.
People were eating whatever they can get their hands on. And it was because we were starving.
Yeah.
Of like pure necessity. And to just joke about that, or not us joking about it like what he said, but just the pure evil that is behind a statement like that, particularly targeting the Haitian community, is insane.
Yeah.
And I just sometimes I look around and I'm like, what is happening with Cubans that like they have no way of realizing that what Trump is doing is very similar to what was done in our country, what led us down a very dark path, and they're supporting a strong man that lies.
Yeah.
Just like Fidel Castro was a strong man that lied to us, that destroyed our island. Like we were the third largest economy in the Americas. We were Cuba was a very stable country until the U.S. is partly to blame for this too, but whatever. We're not gonna go down the historical situations. But yeah, like all the potential that was Cuba was completely sucked away by a strong man who lied to the people.
Yeah.
And here we've seen it again, and they're supporting him.
And they're supporting it.
And it's like, wow, like, and this is where trauma, like this unprocessed trauma that has allowed them to be completely blind to the fact that they're supporting him because this is so familiar to them, and they feel that it's the only way out.
Yeah. I've never been called a communist so much like I am every time I go see my mother-in-law, right? And I had to, I was like, what? Jesus, There was a billboard in El Palmetto that was lit. I want to say it was like Big Dog Pack or one of those people that always does these great ad campaigns. And it was a picture of Fidel and it was a picture of Trump.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
And it said Cubans are picking one dictator, for another dictator, know? And I feel that like Cubans just kind of like don't even look at the billboard and just keep on going. Like they're on a mission. We must get Trump elected. And that's that, where I believe in my heart of hearts that Trump doesn't even know the difference between a Cuban and a Mexican or a Puerto Rican or anything. He just thinks that we all don't belong here.
Right. And he doesn't care. And the people that support him don't care about us either.
Yeah.
And I think that what scares me the most is not even the rhetoric that comes out with Cubans, because the Cubans have always been this way. What scares me the most is the rhetoric that has emerged from what I will call Christian nationalism, which it's so anti-Christ in many ways.
Yeah.
That it's like you guys are literally doing exactly what what you claim the Bible's telling you not to do, and you're doing it, and you're supporting someone who is the Antichrist.
Yeah.
And I'm not calling Trump the Antichrist, but all of Trump's policies are anti-Christ in what I feel Christ
anti-love.
is. Anti-love.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's strange. It's strange to see people like some Christians saying that he's like a Messiah. It's like to even use the word Messiah with Trump is crazy.
No, it's blasphemy is what it is. I mean, when the staged because again, my own personal opinion, I think it was staged. Okay, please don't start sending hate mail, right? When there were memes about like, oh, God protected him from getting shot, and there's memes of the angel holding on to him and picking him up like a Messiah, and it's like, oh my God, really? Like we're there, we're there. That's so it's scary. And so you are a huge Triumph supporter and advocate about being your true authentic self, right?
Right.
How the hell can you be your true authentic self when all these things are surrounding you, where this is what you see on TV, etc.?
Yeah, it's very difficult, and it's a very we're living in a very scary time, and I'm not trying to. It's not to scare people. I just feel like this is the truth. I mean, when you look at the UN predictions on climate change, when you look at what we should be doing to avoid catastrophe, we're not. When you look at what's happening,
the hurricanes.
Look at the hurricane. When you look, poor Asheville,
Asheville. Okay, they were not prepared for that because nothing like that has ever happened in life anywhere near there.
Right. When you look at what's happening in Ukraine, when you look at what what's happening in Africa, it's scary. It's a scary time to be alive, but it's also a time of immense possibility. And with advancements in technologies, with advancements in how humans see themselves, particularly with science, we are at I think a liminal space, like a space in between times, where we're figuring things out. And if we're able to survive this time, I think that we will be set for at least the next 30 or 400 years. But we're in the middle now. We're like in this very weird space. And how can you be your most authentic self in this space? I think that it takes a lot of courage for you to do that.
Yeah.
But I tell people all the time, you have to shine brightly, because when you shine, others will see you shine, and you will bring out something in them as well. You will inspire them to also shine.
I love that.
And
I love that. My reverend says something about using your candle to light somebody else's, and it just you continue
you
lighting
light
another
the darkness
candle.
instead of someone else. And people tend to only want to hang out with people that agree with them, people that look like them, people that become these echo chambers. And I think that's not okay.
Yeah.
I think people need to take that risk and befriend someone who is very much different from them. Be their friend. Invite them to dinner.
Yeah.
Bring them to your house. Do like little community dinners that you sit around a table and don't talk about politics. Just get to know each other.
Get to know each other
as people.
And you'd be surprised. You have more in common than you do different. Listen, like I've been sober almost 10 years, and my sober family are people that I probably wouldn't have looked at again, right? As friends. We look different. We're in different caste systems where we different occupations, right? But AA brought us together. And then when you get to know a person, and we don't talk about politics is not allowed in AA for obvious reasons, right? And then you're like, coño, I went through that. Oh, wow, you went through that? And this will be a white 80-year-old guy, but we have a lot of similarities, you know? The world is crazy. Life is crazy. It's not easy being an LGBTQ plus youth. It's not easy being an LGBTQ plus me or you. It's not easy, right? I find solace in my wife. My wife is my rock, right? Crazy Cuban, but it works, right? We're polar opposites and it works, right? When the world is crazy, I know I can go home and lay on her and know that at least for the next 5 minutes, the world is going to be okay, and that's how I recharge my battery. That's how I'm able to go back out the next day and help others, right? You have a hubby who is gorgeous, Dan. Hi. And you guys make a beautiful couple.
Thank you.
How long have you guys been together now?
So actually this past August 31st is our 7 years of knowing each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I met him at a gay and lesbian chamber of commerce event. And so,
Hey, you see?
it works.
Single
It
people?
works. You can,
Single people?
Yep.
You see?
And he was at the Colony Hotel in Coral Gables, and he walked in, and there was just like an aura around him. And I'm like, who is this person that just walked in here? And then we started talking, and we, it's kind of like a crazy situation because I was married, and he had a long-term relationship
At the time when you met.
Yeah, but both relationships were on the way out, and we in the whole process we gave plenty of time and opportunity to fix what was there,
if it was possible.
If it was possible, and it wasn't possible, and everybody knew it. So we started dating, and after we obviously broke it off with our other partners, and then we started dating, and it's been crazy. Dan has been such a supporter, and someone that lifts you up. Me going to seminary, before I met Dan, I didn't have a bachelor's, a master's, nothing.
Wow.
And Dan, we were in the mountains of Georgia, at a friend's house. We were like, it was late at night, we were drinking some wine, looking out at the stars, and we had like this 3 or maybe 4 hour conversation on theology. And the next day when we were driving to Savannah, Dan says, you have to go to seminary. Like, I don't want to hear it. You have to go to seminary.
Wow.
And I'm like, no, they're not going to take me. Like, I had all these other excuses for myself.
Of course.
And he's like, no, let's do it. Let's apply. Wow. And same day, we applied to the seminary in Chicago. And I was like, they're not going to take me.
They took you.
2 weeks later, they're like, you have a very strong application. We want to take you. We want you to finish your bachelor's while you're doing your master's.
Wow.
So I did my bachelor's, my master's. And then right after I graduated from my master's, he's like, apply for a doctoral program. I'm like, he's like,
they're not going to take me.
He's like, apply to Duke. And I'm like, Duke's not going to take me. And he's like, just do it. And I did. I applied to Duke and I applied to BU, but Boston University, and they both took me.
Wow.
And I chose Duke because I just I love Duke, and I loved the program at Duke was someone that I really wanted to get into.
And wait a minute. And during all this, you decided to get married?
Yeah. Not only that, but decided to get married. We had to buy a house because they raised our rent like crazy in Coral Gables after the pandemic was over, or technically, whatever, it's not over, but after the pandemic was, officially done. And yes, we got married, bought a house, and I continued my doctoral program.
Wow. That's incredible. Does he ever try to psycholize you? Like, does he ever try to be like, how does that make you feel? Because I hate, my wife does that shit to me. Everyone, no te pongas con eso. Vete para allá con eso. Does he ever try to go like, how did that make you feel?
No, he won't do that, but he has something that I call Tara read, where he reads me to filth. And when he does it, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that Tara Reid had come in and sat on the couch today. Like, I didn't know that she was here today. So he's like,
he should have a pair of glasses that he puts on when he does the Tara Reid, so then you know what's going on.
Yeah. So he'll read me to filth, and and it's always very true.
True. Okay. So we're going to play a quick game here called My Boo or Me. All right? And so it's a quick question and answer. And so I'm going to ask you something and you say, if it's him, you say, my boo. And if it's me, you say me. Okay? All right, here we go.
Ready?
You ready? All right. Me or my boo? Here we go. With Harold Marrero. Here we go. Okay. Who makes breakfast?
Neither.
Why you got to fuck up my game?
Okay, fine. My boo. He makes me coffee. He actually, this is very cute. He brings me coffee every morning.
Okay, but that's breakfast to some people.
Yes.
To waif models that don't eat, that's breakfast.
Yes, he brings me coffee every morning. He gives me a kiss on the forehead.
Okay, so then it is him. You see Dan taking away from how good your coffee is. Do it. All right. Who drives when you go out?
Me.
Who steals the covers?
Me.
Who curses more?
My boo.
Who is more fashionable?
Oh, my boo.
Who controls the remote control?
Me.
Who looks in the mirror more?
My boo.
Who sings in the car?
My boo.
Who wants to leave an event first?
My boo.
Who would send the food back if it wasn't good?
Me.
Who does your dog love more?
My boo.
Who is more needy?
Me?
Thank you for playing My Boo or Me. Thank you, Harold, for being on the FayWhat Show.
Oh, thank
Please
you.
look into that camera and say your best FayWhat.
FayWhat?
Yes, I love it. Follow Safe Schools South Florida and Harold Marrero on Facebook. That's facebook.com. The Harold.Marrero, all right? And Safe School South Florida is also on there, always doing incredible things. Harold, thank you so much for taking the time and being with me. Te quiero tanto.
Yes, I love you.
Thank you. Promise, let's do this. Will you come back on the show and let's try to like combat some more theology crap that scares the rest of us?
I would love to. We can do a whole theological episode.
Could we do that? I mean, I'm telling you, like there are a lot more interesting things than we know of, right, in the Bible because it scares a lot of us, right? And I think Harold is the right guy to make it a little softer and a little smoother. And queer people, religion and spirituality is for you too.
It is.
Right here.
It is.
Okay? Look.